So, we decided that we were going to play Hasty Defence from the 1940 supplement, and John was going to be defending with his British and I was going to be attacking with my Germans. And the scenario we went for was Hasty Defence, as I say, and in that you've got to get a unit off the backboard and then clear 2 enemy areas in the deployment zone, in their deployment zone. So that's 2 by 2 squares. And I think I got this wrong. I just thought I had to clear 2 of the jump-off points and then get a unit off the table. So I really do need to read what the objectives are before I start playing the games. But anyway, that's what we're going to run with, Hasty Defence, and that's on page 123 of the 1940 supplement. So, I've gone for a Panzer division, and my army is rated at +1. I have 1 to 3 infantry sections, so each infantry section is a LMG team of 3, a junior leader in the unit with a submachine gun, and 6 riflemen. I get 1 to 3 of those. I get headquarters. Oh, yeah, just got a sneak peek of my support options there. I've got a senior leader with a pistol, and then a junior senior leader, or is it another senior leader? I can't remember. I have to look, with a submachine gun, and I've got a 50mm mortar team as my headquarters platoon. So that's the infantry section. That's the basic. And as you know, we're doing Hasty Defence, and we've rolled up, which meant that I get 11 support point options, and John gets 7, didn't you?
Yeah.
And John gets 7. Interesting. Using the support list for the Panzer division, and I'll pop a picture up of that. You don't get much for your points, really. It is a decision-making process, and this is what I've got. I've taken a 4th infantry unit, standard layout is the same, 3 LMG crew, and the junior leader, and 6 riflemen. I've then gone for a shabby Nazi trick, as normal, and I have got some nuns with guns. And I'll go through a little bit more detail separately for them. And I've gone for a red dice, and I'll give you some idea of what the other one will be. It will be boom. I've gone for a Stuka bombardment, which works like a pre-game barrage, but ends at the end of turn 1. So that's the Germans for their attack on the British.
Okay, so taking on these Germans, I'm going to be fielding a BEF army. I was expecting some tanks, as you'll see when I tell you what I've actually got. I'll start off with, I've got a command at the front there with a officer, a sergeant, and a 5cm mortar, I think, or 2-inch mortar.
2-inch mortar, yeah.
2-inch, isn't it? And then I've got 3 units of infantry. This is my standard choice, and that's a NCO, a LMG unit with 3, it's a Bren unit, and 7 riflemen in each unit. You see the third one of the units at the back there. I've actually changed that because I do get a uncrewed anti-tank rifle, so I put that in. I can change one of them squads to have that included and take 2 figures out, expecting tanks, which I'm not going to go against. For my choices for my points, which worked out as 7, I've got that little Matilda 1, because I've just painted that and I wanted to field it, and another anti-tank rifle. I've also got a drinks cabinet, which is good at rallying one of my units once per game, and I've gone for an adjutant to enable me to deploy my senior leader on the table but don't get any minuses when deploying other units. And that's my BEF that will hopefully stop these rotten German Nazis coming through on me.
One of the good things about, I think, chain of command is that you set up your normal platoon, and then you can work out in secret what your support units are going to be. So John has deployed troops expecting a armour attack, and I've gone down the route of a Stuka bombardment.
Mind you, my Matilda 1 should be okay against your infantry.
Yeah,
because he isn't really any good against a tank.
I don't think I've got anything to stop your Matilda 1, but we'll see how we go with that then. So we've set up the board for Hasty Defence, and and we've got a little village with our road. We've taken it from the setup that Rich from Two Fat Lardies did for Beasts of War. So we thought we'd run it that way. We'll play it that way. So that's our table. Next up, we'll be trying to work out our jump-off points, the patrol phase. So yeah, little village. So all good stuff. Playing again today down at Lost Ark Games in Stevenage.
So is that open?
So we've rolled for the Stuka bombardment. The first house is okay. The one over there got turned into rubble. The one over here, what happened to that one in the middle there, John?
Well, that one?
Yeah.
That's unstable.
That's unstable. The church was okay. Oh, we didn't roll for the little sentry hut. That's okay. The cafe was fine. The little building was fine. But the big building's on fire. So that's going to give us fun. So it's unstable and on fire. So at the end of the turn we check to see whether it continues on fire, and we then look at where the smoke billows to. Because the smoke will billow, apparently. So that's it. We're going to run out the the patrol phase now. So we've set up the jump-off points. John's got 2 on that side of the road, and they're split between there, and there's 2 on there. I can put mine anywhere, so I've put mine on the road here. I've got 4 of those. We've rolled for force morale. I rolled a 5, which gives me 10 on the force morale chart, and John rolled a 2, so that puts his force morale on 8. So we're just looking at now starting off our patrol phase, and I've just got to check the Stuka bombardment for anything else, and I think that only affects... We've done the buildings beforehand, so we've covered that. The next up is Stukas will affect any vehicles or any infantry that try to come on the table. So let's see what we get up to on our patrol phase. I get to go first, so let's have a look. Well, we've looked at our patrol phase, and John was a little bit aggressive there. He hopped his people forward and locked this down straight away. So he's locked that one left there, that one, and he double locked that one there. I was going to springboard off from this, so he locked it down. So he's got these 2 that was coming up from the right, and I pushed this one forward to lock and finish off the deployment. And it's going to be very interesting, because it's going to be me first to work out where my jump off points go. So we're going to have a look.
You've got 3, haven't you? You've 3 jump offs.
Yep. And I think...
Which one are you going to go for first?
And I think I'm going to go for this one that's out in the open.
So that basically is going to be basically anywhere around here, isn't it? So
which way does it go? Does it go from the 2 closest?
2 closest, so it's that one and that one.
Ah.
So basically it's going to come across there, so it's...
That's going to put me right on the table edge, isn't it?
Yes. You've got to be 6 inches away.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Well, you could go... Actually, you could go here, behind this building.
Yeah.
Actually, where you put then, you could end up in...
That's where he was going to go. That's where I'll go.
Because that's quite... yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okie dokie.
So we say...
So we can go into here for 1 jump off point.
Yep. So you don't want to move then, do you? 'Cause you've
No.
got you might,
Oh yeah, that's it. It's there, isn't it? So we'll put
know
that
there's
back.
one there.
We know one's there. Sorry about the... there's going to be 1 jump off point behind the house. So now John's going to work his out. So that was interesting. The way it runs back, and because John was quite aggressive at the top end of that, I've got 1 jump off point behind this house here, but the other 2 jump off points were forced to the back table edge. So I've got sort of a main patrol coming up and 2 jump off points at the back. So that was a bit troublesome. For John, he's got
2 here.
2 jump off points on there.
And the other one's behind this.
And the other one is behind the little building with the tree there. So John's a little bit spread out, but he's got probably set up for a nice defensive position. So we've got, remembering that this one is rubble, this one's unstable in the middle, so if he puts troops in it, there's a chance that it may fall down. and the other one is unstable and on fire. So we're going to go into the first phase. So I've rolled my command dice for the first phase, and I've rolled 3 6s. And 3 6s means the end of the turn. So we play the phase, it's the end of the turn, and I get the first phase in the next turn. However, that does mean that my Stuka bombardment, which was going to cause trouble to John's troops deploying, now longer doesn't, because it's only for the first turn. So that is that is gutting, but never mind. That's what I've got. I've got my nuns with guns deployed on the table. They are going to wander 2d6 forward, and at any time I can, if I haven't deployed a squad which has the LMG team, they can deploy and move and move or fire. So they're ready to move. But yeah, really irritating for me, that is. John's just gone off cheering. So let's work out what I'm going to do with the dice. The nuns with guns, as civilians, have moved 5 inches forward. I've deployed a unit onto the fence post and put them on overwatch. I shouldn't have bothered, really. I should have done something else with them. And I've brought on a second section, or squad, from this jump off point here. So as it's the end of the turn, we now have a roll to see what happens to the buildings and the smoke. And my Stuka drives off. We've rolled for the building, which was unstable and on fire. It remains on fire and collapsed. So the smoke has changed direction, and that gives blocks a line of sight. The house, which was unstable in the middle, has remained upright. So on to my first phase of turn 2. Things to think about: at the end of my first phase of the second turn, I've ran the unit that was on this jump off point. I brought on the senior leader and run them up 3d6, and they went 13. John, can you just have a quick look about running 3? Do I get a point of shock?
Yes, you do.
I do. And then I've put this unit here on overwatch. My nuns with guns went forward another 5 inches, and I'll cover a little bit of interest there. And I've brought on a third section or squad down here. And the reason why I've done that is I had a quick look at the nuns rules. They're treated as civilians, which means I can't deploy German troops in close to them within 12, but we've already sort of progressed on from that from the first turn. So I've taken it that those troops that were behind the house couldn't see these nuns, so they're still on the road there, and these are deployed back just off of this deployment zone, so just outside of the 12 inches for those nuns on the road, and that sort of makes it a bit fairer just by where we've placed them, rather than getting a bit mixed up. So on to John's
Can I deploy some troops now, please?
Depends if you rolled the right dice. Rolled 2 chain of command dice. He's rolled a 6 for the end, so I get the next phase, and he's rolled a 3 and a 2, which can bring on a section. So the 2 sections. Junior leader can activate 1, or 1 unit can come on and not use the junior leader's activations. So I'll leave John to sort out what he's going to do. So for John's phase, he has brought on a section. He used a 2, so they could come on, but they couldn't do anything because the junior leader with them can't activate them. He would have needed a 3 for that. For his 3, John brought on the Matilda and took a shot with the Matilda at the infantry unit here. He's used as a tank, a vehicle machine gun, which gave him 6 shots, and he needed 6 more 5s to hit. And fortunately for me, he didn't hit them. I've got 2 points of shock, 1 on each team, and that was from getting them to run 3d6. So it's now going to be my phase, as John only rolled 1 6, and we'll see what we can do with the Germans. So my nuns with guns have discarded their habits, nasty habits, and I've opened up with the LMG on John's infantry, and they were within close range. So I managed to kill 2. I got 6 hits. So John put 3 on the LMG team and 3 on the rifle team. Yeah. John rolled for the LMG team, and it's killed 2 of them, which was quite something, and put 3 shock on the rifle section. So that was a rather hefty shot.
Don't go. Leader.
Oh, junior leader, yep.
No.
4, he's okay. Woo. Yeah, that was a 1 or a 2 and he would have been hit, wouldn't he?
Yep.
Yep, so yeah, that's quite good by the nuns, but it does leave them out in the open. So with my 3, I've advanced this section, this squad, up. The only ones that could shoot was the junior leader and the LMG team. And they fired at the squad there, and I've put another point of shock on them. But it was half dice. So we managed to get 1 point of shock onto them, another point of shock, and with my other, I got the 2 and the 1, added them together, and that's brought on the team here. And they fired, because I've got a junior leader with them, and I've killed another one of the riflemen. So at the moment we've got 1 LNG man left, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I don't know. I've got no idea how many are left there. Oh yeah, because the dead men were off of the LMG mostly. So he's still got a number of riflemen there. So he's nowhere near yet pinned. So that was quite a good turn, I think, for me. So for John's turn, he didn't get such good dice, but he did bring on his senior leader and was able to move the unit that was in the middle and had quite a few pins. He brought his senior leader on, and his senior leader does have a drinks cabinet. So he gives them a shot of rum, and you roll 1d6 to remove that number of shock.
And how did I roll?
1.
1.
So removed 1 point of shock, so had to use some other activations to reduce some pins. So he did get them out of view of my LMG team. So he was lucky there. He's brought on the unit here from the jump off point by the tree and decided to give a bit of a smattering to the LMG team outside the house. But didn't hit them, which was fortunate for me. Mm. On the far side, over there, we'll just have a quick roll round. Thanks, Andy. Moving the chair so I don't trip over it. John brought out a section, and he only had 2s to bring these sections out, so brought a section out and shot at the Germans at the front, but did 1 point of shock and killed one of the LNG team. So not too bad overall, as things go. So John has got all 3 of his infantry units deployed. He's not got much left off table, I don't think.
No, I haven't.
So we're going to see what we can do. Fortunately, my little troopies have got hand grenades, and you can use hand grenades against little tanks. So we do have some anti-tank support. Right, into the German phrase, and let's see what we can get. Let's have a little look at the dice roll.
Go there, boys.
So that looks like I'm going to have to do some maths. Okie dokie.
It's a scale of 6.
It doesn't count for those purposes. So the phase goes to you next turn. So most of the action has been on this side of the battlefield. So I fired with this unit here at his BAF in the rubble. Managed to kill 1 man, I think, with that one, didn't I? And we fired with this unit here. I think we were able to put 1 point of shock on with the first firing from the first unit. And I moved this section so they can only fire at half rate. And that put another pin on them within that. So yeah, we've sort of dominating this little bit, but I don't know for how much longer. Moved up the LNG team. I did want them to move a bit further than that, but I rolled 2d6 and moved 3. So they were a little bit slow. Oh yeah, that was where another pin came from. I fired the 50mm mortar at the troops in the rubble. So they're all over there. And that's about it really for this phase. So back on this left bit of the battlefield, John's unit has reduced 1 shot, and he took a shot at the Germans and killed another man on the LMG team. So they are picking on them. So the unit that was behind the building over here has moved into the building. John used an activation point for the junior leader to move 2 men across from the rifle section to help with the LMG. Moved into the building, and then took a shot at my little LMG team, but fortunately for me failed to hit. John did try to move his officer. He did move 2 inches. Yeah, double one for the movement, which was okay. So yeah, I didn't do too bad out of that, but John is sort of consolidating some forces. So let's see what we're going to get for the German phase. A couple of 5s, a 4. Oh, it's probably not what I didn't want. That. No, I didn't want that at all. No, that was not good. That was an awful roll. Anyway, let's work out what I'm going to do with it. Well, it was an interesting roll. So I've got a 6, which means John's phase next. I've got a blue 5, so that's one more up onto my chain of command. I've got 2 pips on my chain of command. Discount the 5 and 6s on the red dice, which left me the blue 4s, the 2 4s, and the 2. So with the 2, I've brought a section on from the jump off point into the middle. That was the one which I used the LMG team for the nuns with guns. So they've moved up into there. I then brought on the senior officer, and activated the unit. One of the activations, one of his initiatives was to join 2 men to the LMG team. One was to, and then the second was to get them to run, not run, but move. So they moved 7 inches up the side of the house, and this unit here fired upon the troops in hard cover and put on 8 hits, but didn't really translate too much, did it? No. John only got 1 shock on the LMG team and 2 shock on the rifle team, but I think there was only an additional 1 shot, wasn't it? Only one additional one. So that was not too bad for the roll that I got. But it did mean that there was a number of sections. The section down here that I couldn't activate. Couldn't activate the LMG team in the middle, and couldn't activate my 50 cm mortar, so couldn't do that. So on to John's turn, and let's see what he gets to roll with and play with. 2 chain of command dice.
No. That means I've got
Senior leader, but you've got a section that you can activate with that 1 and a 2. You could add them together. Right, you might see that the jump off point has moved. It's gone from behind this building to the back of that. John used his chain of command dice to move it over to there. I wonder why he did that. That's probably because I was running these troops up, and that was my intention. My intention was to sneak them around the corner, capture the jump off point. So just as well you noticed that.
Really?
Just as well you were able to do that, wasn't it, with that chain of command dice. However, also John had a good little shoot at the unit that were behind here, the LMG team. Caused enough pins to make them to break. So they went 6 inches back and then 2d6, which was a 4, so they moved 10 inches back in total. So, and with my officer over here, he saw that he was out on his own. I didn't have enough things to do them all, and he thought, yep, we'll take out the senior leader. Shot at him, did hit him with quite a lot of hits, but there was only 1 kill, and rolled on that, and then he was lightly wounded, and he's dropped an initiative, so he's only down to 2. Yeah, so troublesome and tricky.
Of course, your morale.
And of course my morale. I rolled a 6 for him being lightly wounded, which dropped my morale down to 8, and then the unit breaking, I rolled for that, and that has dropped me down to 7. And John is still quite happily sitting on 8, so a bit of a pain there. So we'll move on to the Germans' next phase. And turn 3.
Yes.
But we've got to sort out the houses and the fire.
Now let's open them up.
So we've checked on the buildings table for the effects on the buildings, and the unstable building is still up, which is just about handy for me as I'm running past it. Probably okay for John's officer because he's probably within 4, is he?
Yeah, he's
yeah, and fortunately over this one the building has collapsed already, but the fire is now out. But it's now, you can't occupy it because all the cinders and the heat. So it's still smouldering away, but it's the fire is out. So yeah, let's see what I can roll and see if I get some decent dice.
No. Oh,
One chain of command dice.
that's a good hand.
Interesting. And a 3 or 4 and a 1 and... Oh yeah, that's quite handy. We'll see what we can do with that. So we've worked out the dice for the units, and it worked out I had sort of 8 for the unit, 4 for my army leadership value being a bit higher than John's, and I got 3 for the senior leader. John got quite a lot more actually, because he had 9 fighting, and he had an LMG in defence, which gives him an extra 4. And then, because he was in hardcover, he got 1d6 for every 2, which gave him another 7. And then 5 or 6s kill. And as you can see, no.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I apologise.
Because there's 5. It's not like hits, is it? It's kills.
And 6 also gives you shock.
Yeah. So 5 kills, 5 and 6 kills, and 6 gives shock. And as you can see, I killed 3 and 1 point of shock. And I think you can see over there, John rolled 7 and 3 points of shock. So that's going to be an interesting result on the combat, and we're going to work out and see what happens as a result. I may have been a little gung-ho with that, because John killed 7, I killed 3, which meant that when you totaled it all up, I had to run away 18 inches and double the shock, which takes me up to 6 shock, with 3 men left of the section and the senior leader, and there's a junior leader in there. So we rolled to see what wounds I've got. So I've got a light wound on the senior leader, and I've got a light wound on the junior leader, and the junior leader loses 1 initiative, and the senior leader, he's down 1 initiative. So we're just looking at now what happens on the bad things happens chart.
Are you ready?
And we're gonna go for this. Okay then.
Right, so let's do the leaders first.
Leaders first, and
junior leader wounded. Roll 1d6.
Right, for the junior leader, let's roll. I'll use the different dice, because that's not a good dice for rolling.
Get the right page on here.
It's got some rude words on it.
1 second. Yeah, if you'd roll up that 2, you'd have been down to 4. So you lose your red dice when you get 5, do you?
I'm not sure. 4.
4. Oh,
yeah.
you're right at the moment then. Oh, I'm pinning you back now.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm very surprised. And another dice.
Yeah, so at the moment I'm on 5 and I'm okay with my red dice. When it goes down to 4, I lose my red dice and also another command dice.
Oh, right.
So yeah, things that we learnt there: do not attack infantry in heavy cover. So end of my phase, and I've moved the unit into the house, took a shot at the officer on his own, and we've wounded him, and he cannot use his initiative in the next phase. No, he can't use his initiative until the end of the turn.
Yes.
So we've sort of incapacitated him. So I've now used one of the other ones, the 3 and the 1, the 2 and the 1 together, to move this unit. No, the 2 to move this unit up here, just to move them. And then I used the 1 to fire the mortar, but that missed the unit in the rubbles. So it's now up to John. So John, what are you going to do on your dice?
I'm going to do some more damage to you, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, doke, let's see what dice you get then. Oh, damn it! I didn't want you to get that.
So I've got 2 on me. So I'm now going back to 3.
3 chain of command dice.
I retain the.
You get the next phase with that double
phase,
6, and you've got a 3. Excellent. That moves that you can deal with a section. Interesting. So John's last phase, he only really had a 3 that he could use. So he run the squad that was down on the road. He's run them up the road. They've got a point of shock on each of the team, but then he's just rolled, because he had the double 6 to give him a double phase. So he's now rolled another pair of 6s to give him another phase after this one. So he's got 2 2s and a 1, so that's quite useful. So has John had that second phase, he has moved the infantry unit up here to a better position to take a shot at the Germans, and he's put on 2 points of shock. Didn't kill anyone, but 2 points of shock on them. So that's taken him up to 3. And with his 3, he's moved the tank 9 inches along. So he wanted to get that in. So he's now going to roll his dice again for his other phase in a row. Oh, how disappointing. No more double sixes. But another 5. Oh. And so yeah, some good dice rolls there for lots of activations. Yes, we'll see what he does with that. Well, remembering that I'm down to 4 on the force morale, so I've lost the red dice and 1 blue dice. I've rolled 2 6s and a 5 and a 3, so I've moved up my chain of command dice onto 4. And for my 1 section to move, I've ran them right up to there. I had a really good roll of double 6 and a 4. So we've sprinted up the road. I'm not sure it's going to help me much, but I've got the next phase. So let's have a look and see what I'm going to roll. Well, that gives me some, yeah, not much at all. I think the writing is on the wall for the Germans here. It may have been my gung-ho with the unit that was no longer there, who have run all the way back here. With my dice that I had for my chain of command, not all the command dice, we took a shot at the unit here. I didn't think it was worth firing at the officer, so we fired at the troops, killed one from the LMG team and put some shock on them, probably not enough. And my other section fired into the building, killed one of the LMG team, and that was about it. The senior officer down here removed 1 point of shock, because he has only got 1 to activate himself, and then 1 he dropped a level, so he only was able to take one pin off, so it didn't really help them much. And that's much as the Germans' turn. These, as I say, these ones did take a shot there, but they didn't do very much. And of course, I had nothing to be able to use my small mortar. So over to John. Let's see what can John get with his command dice. Double phase. That'll only be his. Yes. Who's counting? Me. So, yeah, next John gets the next phase. He gets another chain of command dice, so he's up to 5, and he's got a 2 and a 1 to use. So the world's his oyster.
How many ducks on that unit?
1.
Was it 1 off each?
2.
Unit? So
2 in total, isn't it?
Yeah,
so yeah, within this one, John only had a few dice to activate up. So he shot the unit from the house at the Germans on the road, killed 2 and put 2 shock on the LMG team and 1 on the rifle section. So I had an NC junior leader duffed up. Let's move the dice out of there. So you're going to roll to see if he was hit, and he was. So we'll see what happens with him. Oh,
that's
a 5.
Minor wound. Lose 1 initiative.
So minor wound, and on the bad things happens, junior leader wounded on a 5. Little chart.
Lose another initiative, isn't it?
Junior leader wounded on a 5 is a 1 off the chart. So we're down to 3. And then John's next phase. Oh, I don't think I caught that, but there we go. What's he got? He's got 3 5s and a 6 and a 4. So at least it would be my phase next. Yes, so John has now got his chain of command dice up. So he's got one of those in play. So he could be very tactically sneaky here and cause me a lot of grief. Are you going to end the turn, John?
Maybe. First of all, though, I only expect the officer here.
Yep.
Corporal Jones.
Corporal Jones is going to do what?
And he's going to activate this unit.
Yep.
To fire at this unit.
Yep. Now, see, what I would do here, John, is I would advance that unit round the corner, fire up the road at these Germans on the road. Yep.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
To kill them, to give them a lot of a spanking, and then go for the end of turn for.
But my idea.
For what am I saying? You need the end of the turn.
Units.
Yeah, broken unit and an unstable building that could collapse.
Yeah.
Which could take out.
I know what you're saying, but my idea is to fire on this unit. I want to get 2 more pins on that.
Yeah,
then they break.
Then they break.
Then I end the turn. Then you've got 2.
Yeah, then I've got that 2 there.
You've got 3 units that are broken.
Yes, and then that'll be my poor little chain of command.
That's
gone.
Working out here.
No, that sounds very good to me.
So I'm going to activate this unit first.
Okay. Right. So John has duffed up this little lone man. The enough casualties to cause him to break with the pins. Killed the 2 men next to him, so he's broken, which moved my chain of command dice down onto 2. And because John's got a chain of command dice, he is going to end the turn. So ending the turn, any broken units will rout. So that's 1 broken unit there, which will rout, and 1 broken unit there that will rout.
Can we do the building first?
And the building might collapse. Let's get the building and see. Come on, on a 5 or 6, it collapses. No. So I've got these 2 units here that have routed. So that's 2 rolls.
Units, haven't you? 1, 2, and 3.
Oh yes, 3 units broken. So we rolled the dice because I think on broken units.
I don't know.
Must be bad things happen, setbacks. There must be something there for broken units.
I'm sure there is, but I've got to find it.
Well, that doesn't look inspiring for the Germans. Because John ended the turn where he did, I had a junior leader that was routed and a support team that was, or a section wiped out, because I took a team and that was wiped out. In fact, it was 2 support teams, but it meant that there was at least 3 rolls on the chain of command table, and sadly it took me down to 0, so rout or surrender. So for John today, game of chain of command, John takes the laurels with the BEF.
Makes a change, did we?
Yeah, I don't think I'd caused too many casualties, did I really? And I lost quite a lot. No. It may have been that John had 3, 4 double phasers. Nah. I think it was my Stuka bombardment.
That really was
stopping on the first phase.
I just was able to carry on as if normal.
Yeah, that was a real grim one. I did like the nuns with guns; they were quite fun, but I couldn't actually use them as I wanted to, because I wanted to run them down the road, and I probably didn't do it as quick as possible.
I think in this game the second choice would have been better, which is the civilians.
Yeah, what I wanted to do was run the nuns down the road to get to the jump-off point before John was able to do anything with it, but I rolled so poorly for their movement, they didn't get down the road. But anyway, there we go, our chain of command game. Yeah, we like that, and we'll play more games. Well, yeah, what did I get wrong? Well, the first one was not reading the objective right, and I thought I had to take to clear 2 jump-off points, not actually clear 2 of the sections, which was a bit of a shame. But anyway, yeah, that's things to do. Remember, read the scenario. Another thing, I really did want to take the Stuka bombardment, but it's a 4-point support unit, and it only lasts the first turn. And as you can see in this game, the first turn only lasted for 1 of my dice rolls. It may well have been better to take a second Nazi shabby trick and taken the 5th columnist, because that would have had much the same effect, putting a kibosh on bringing troops in, and that would have lasted throughout for hopefully for a bit longer. Certainly, John would have had to have rolled each turn, so each phase that he wanted to bring something in, he would have had to have rolled a dice to see whether the 5th columnist would interrupt it. But yeah, so that was that. I think probably, yeah, if I hadn't gone for the Stuka bombardment, I probably could have had a small artillery piece if I'd actually had one. But I don't have a small artillery piece for my Germans, Blitzkrieg Germans, which has been remedied. I now have the small 75mm gun. Whether the support options allow me to have one of them, I'll have to double check. But that's as we go. Yeah, so that was it. One other thing, learning experiences that we had. Charging units in hard cover. It's quite difficult in bolt action where my head is, and it's even more difficult in chain of command. The number of dice that John got to outdice me was quite significant for being a defender in hard ground and with an LMG, which I suppose is quite right because that's what you're doing. You're charging troops in a defensive position. So that was an interesting lesson. So we've got to be careful of that. Things that we didn't do: didn't use tactical movement, which would have made it more difficult for John to hit me. And I should have considered using covering fire. So covering fire doesn't do any casualties on a unit, but it does mean that it fires at -1. I'm wondering if that's cumulative if I moved tactically. So tactically a slow movement, but it gives you one level of cover. So that might have been useful as well. So I should have sort of leapfrogged units on that left-hand side. Other than hand grenades, I had nothing to take out the Matilda. I know John thought I might be taking some taking some armour, but I didn't in the end. Yeah, so that was an interesting one. So hand grenades, and do not charge people in buildings, and think about tactical movement and also covering fire. So yeah, things that we need to pick up, just the little minutiae of the game. We get a much better idea of what the rules are, and now we've got to start to look at tactics. John's initial patrol phase was really good. He had obviously thought about how he was going to close me down, and he did, which meant that 2 of my 3 jump-off points were on my table edge, which was a good move by John, because that meant if I wanted anything up front, I would have to have brought it out of that middle jump-off point, and I probably should have brought everything out of that middle jump-off point and just rushed them forward, ish, with that leapfrogging cover or covering fire or tactical move. But hey ho, that's how we learn. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Comment down below on anything if you've got some views or comments on it. Hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that notification button to let you know when I have another video up. So thanks very much. Until the next time, take care. End screen, obviously the buy me a Ko-fi if you would be so kind. Still trying to save up to replace the old iPad, but that's coming along. So thank you very much for all those who have, and I think the next video will be a 1,500 subscriber giveaway, so watch out. Take care.